So most of you will be using the web-based tool WeVideo to record, edit, and share your podcast with. If you are an iPad school, you will either need to already have the WeVideo app. If you do not have the app, feel free to use iMovie or GarageBand to record and edit your podcast. If you are a MacBook school, I recognize that you have access to iMovie and GarageBand, but I'm going to ask you in this session to try using WeVideo. It's always great to expand your toolbox and learn something new, which is what today's all about. So, what is the purpose of the podcast? So there are a variety of types of podcasts and purposes. So for instance, it might be expository, where you're demonstrating knowledge of a topic through description and explanation. It could be narrative, so you're telling a story or you're telling somebody else's story. It could be informational, which is similar to the expository, but you create a discussion or you're disseminating some information. Or it could be pure entertainment. Think about sports podcasts or comedy podcasts that you might listen to, or even a video game. There are different types of podcasts. These are the most widely used ones. The interview, where you have an interviewer and an interviewee or several interviewees, and you are asking them questions. It could be conversational. That's probably the one that we're going to be doing the most of today. And it usually involves two co-hosts and they're discussing topics between them. It could be a monologue where it's just a single co-host, and some of you might opt to do that today. It could be storytelling or investigative. Maybe you have a roundtable discussion where you have a bunch of people on the podcast and you have one person who's sort of the MC and people are going around discussing a particular topic. Or maybe it's theatrical and you are actually performing fictional stories or playing out roles. So why should you podcast? Because podcasting gives you students an opportunity to share your voice about information and make it more of an impact than text or flat sheet video. They're manageable with the right source. You can make one pretty quickly and for free. I'm going to show you how to do that today. They require little storage or bandwidth. Listeners only need an internet device. You can usually listen to them like when you're walking, if you have an iPhone or an iPod. It also allows you to build a network. So it's going to make you a better communicator because you're going to really focus on how you talk to other people. But believe it or not, it also makes you a better listener. So effective podcast shows have really these four things in common. So preparation. Believe it or not, podcasts have a lot of research that goes into it prior to actually recording the podcast. I'm pretty sure we don't have to do extensive research on why Earth is such a great place to live today. I bet you have lots of ideas around that. So research isn't going to be a huge thing, but we are going to be preparing what it is that we want to record. Personality and enthusiasm. Make this, be yourself, be authentic. That's why people tune into podcasts, because they like the co-hosts. They get involved with your personality. Make sure your topics that you're interested in, you show interest and a passion for. And then most importantly about a podcast, aside from the preparation thing, is articulation. And as you can tell here, because we are short on time, I am talking pretty fast. But if I were making a podcast, I would want to make sure that I slowed down, make sure that I articulated every word clearly so that people would really understand. I mean, you wouldn't want it to be too slow, but if you're a fast talker like me, that's something that you really have to keep in check and make sure that you are being aware of that. So here's some pretty easy steps And these are the steps that we're going to use today to create a podcast. Storyboard. So that's the plan where you research, you determine what kind of podcast you want to do. You're going to write a script for your podcast. You're going to figure out what are the elements that I want to include in my podcast. Then you have the recording part, which is pretty easy. You just need a recording device, and that could be your phone. In this case, we're going to be using computers or your iPad. You could have an external microphone. If you're really getting into this, you might want to have an external excuse me, microphone, some headphones, and maybe a recording space that's going to be quiet. And then there's the editing process once you've recorded. And it's really great, especially in the early days of your podcasting career, because I know you're going to go on and want to podcast all the time, is to gather some constructive feedback from others. Like, have other people's listen to your podcast, and they can kind of help you adjust it and make it so that it is a better experience for your listener. We're going to talk about editing some of the audio recording, and in the editing process, that's where you might add music and sound. And then finally, you need to share your podcast, right? And so you need to figure out how it is that you're going to be able to share your podcast. I'm going to talk a little bit about how you can share it through with WeVideo, but if you weren't using that device, you might have to come up with some other way of sharing your podcast with people. So we right now are going to listen to a couple podcasts. We're not going to listen to the whole thing, but we're going to take the next 3 to 5 minutes or so and listen to some podcasts. And while you are listening, here's some things I want you to be thinking about. And if you need to jot down some notes about this, that's fine. But think about, could I tell what kind of podcast it was? Do I know what the purpose was? What was the introduction like? What was we're not going to be able to listen to the conclusion, but if you wanted to go on and listen to some podcasts, you could listen to how they end them. How did they bring music or sound effects in there? How did they transition from topic or person or other parts of their podcasts? I also want you to think about what a part about this podcast appealed to you. What part didn't appeal to you? What would you do differently? Listening to other people's podcasts will help you form some ideas of how you would like to do your own podcast. So without further ado, we are going to listen. This first one is The Quest of the Alien Hunter with Seth. Oh, let me see what is. I got his last name covered up here. Shostak, and he works for the SETI Institute, and he is a senior astronomer. So let's go ahead and listen to a little bit of his podcast.
Something more out there?
Or to ask when we're looking up at the stars, are we alone?
I'm sure that the question is as old as humanity.
It wasn't until we started to look at the stars through a scientific lens that anyone thought we could find signs of life on other planets.
Beginning with the invention of the telescope around 1600, people look at the moon and they see all these sort of craters, and they say, well, these look like cities to us.
The telescopes really weren't that great back then, so there was probably a lot of room left over for the imagination.
A lot of space between your eye and that planet. All imagination.
100 years ago, people thought there were canals on Mars, and the experiment to prove that involved just looking at Mars through a telescope.
There was one guy named Percival Lowell who practically invented the idea of Martians. He believed that he could see canals on the surface of Mars, waterways built by intelligent life.
Like little green men, like Marvin the Martian?
Exactly. Other astronomers were skeptical, though, because they couldn't see the canals Lowell was talking about.
These canals you're talking about, not there, dude.
Yeah, his theories were completely disproved when we got better telescopes and actually saw the surface of Mars.
So when did scientists start to take the search for alien life seriously?
Modern experiments to look for life in space began really in 1960 when a fellow by the name of Frank Drake used an antenna in West Virginia and pointed that antenna in the direction of a couple of nearby stars, hoping to eavesdrop on radio signals.
So wait, did he say radio signals? Like, do they listen to NPR? When they land, will they say, "Take us to Click and Clack, the Tappet Brothers. Their jokes are so delightful. They helped us repair our spaceship."
Well, I'm not sure. But that same technology of radio waves that carry our voices and our music might help us make contact with aliens.
In the same way that you can send messages with, just using a flashlight or even a mirror in the sunlight, flashing your buddy down the street there, some sort of Morse code message, you can also use radio to do that.
All right, let's see if we can listen to this.
Hey grown-ups,
Can you
the
hear that,
past
Dr.
couple
Beal?
of years have seen some serious changes in schooling for kids in grades 2 through 12. Hey grown-ups.
Okay, screw this in here, and I'm just gonna fit these two parts together and...
Mindy, I was trying to nap, but I can hear the banging from all the way across the... Whoa, what is all this?
Oh, hey, Guy Raz, you're just in time. I'm working on a rocket ship to get us all revved up and fly us into space!
Space?
Oh, yeah. Something really out of this world is happening up there today, and we don't want to miss it. Here, pass me that hammer.
Oh, no.
Come on. Come on.
I'm afraid to ask, but what exactly is happening in space that we don't want to miss?
Guy Raz, we are going to get an up-close and personal look at a meteor shower.
A meteor shower? Like shooting stars?
Shooting stars and all the wishes you want. Now, if I can just get this rocket ship to turn on there in no time.
Mindy, I'm not so sure a rocket ship made from cardboard is gonna be able to hold up on a flight to space.
Okay, well, first of all, Guy Razzie, it's corrugated cardboard. And second of all, I've learned that if you chew the gum first, it has a better chance of holding your rocket ship together.
Well, maybe.
All right, so sorry if you could not hear that first podcast. So hopefully you were able to really hone in on the second podcast and you heard some things that you like. So the next part that we're going to be talking about is the script. So you are going to be sending a message to alien life forms in space about why Earth is a great place to live. And actually in real life, scientists have already sent messages into space trying to inform alien life about what it is that we do here on Earth. So you may work with a partner or you may work by yourself. These are the things that your script should include. It should be who says what part. So write very specifically, Dr. Beal is going to say this, Mrs. Graffam is going to say that. Think about your introduction. You can just use your first names here. But what's the title of your podcast going to be about? And you should let your audience know what your podcast is going to be about. Then there's the body of the script, and that's convincing ET that Earth is great. And so you can kind of write that piece and then think about your closing segment. How are you going to wrap this podcast up? So things to consider is how you will start the podcast. How will you transition from the opening statement? How will you transition into the closing statement? How do you want to add music or sound effects? When and where? And remember, you only have 2 to 3 minutes for this to record this podcast. So you're going to have to be clear and concise in your message. So If it were me, when I'm writing out my script, I might even write little notes. We'll add intro music here. Want to have some transition music here. Think about, so you're really storyboarding and planning how you are going to record your podcast. So I am going to give you about 15 minutes to work on this, and I will put some low background music because I recognize it might get loud in some of these places as you excitedly share your ideas with each other and think about your podcast. So I'm going to give you 15 minutes. When it's 5 minutes to the end of that time, I'll set up the timer and we will move on to the recording part, which is, for many of you, will be the most exciting part. And we're going to move on to how you are going to actually record your podcast. And I just want to point out that you should always be able to go back and access my my podcasting in the classroom website. And this slide deck is on there. The sample podcasts are on there. There's some podcasting stuff for teachers. There's podcasting with WeVideo. So if you miss some of the instructions here, I have that there. I've also included on this podcasting WeVideo. If you are an iPad school and you're using the WeVideo app, I put together a very rough, please do not judge, little tutorial on how you would go about using that. There are some fair use resources and some podcasts that you might enjoy. So this is open for you to go back and look at it as a resource for whenever you want. And then maybe when we get done, I will put up the beginning slide that has the QR code if you need that. And Dr. Beal will also put that information in the chat. But let's get started with how you are going to go ahead. Let me get this in presenter mode so you can see this. So how are you going to log into WeVideo? So first of all, you're going to go to wevideo.com. And please, please, please do not click sign up. You are not signing up for an account. Do not click that. You want to go directly to log in. Once you get to there, you are going to log in with your Google account. And you're going to then select education. And you are going to select student. And you need to select a few options. So I've selected podcasts. You can do book reports. You just need to select a few things. Once you've done that, you're going to go ahead and hit start creating. And you are going to come to a screen like this. Now I'm going to switch over. So I'm actually in WeVideo here. Let me go back out. And so you should now be on a screen like this. Up here in the upper left-hand corner, there's a blue Create New. If you click on that little down arrow right here, and we are going to select Podcasts. And from here, it is pretty easy. We are going to click the blue record button. It'll get a little countdown. And you'll see how it's flashing that it's recording, and you are getting it's timing you down. So you would then record. If you are working with a partner, I would recommend that both of you record on each of your devices the podcast. This way you'll each have an opportunity to do the editing pieces. So you both will get the experience of using everything with WeVideo, you're really just kind of recording the same audio. When you have finished your recording, you hit stop. And this is in preview mode. You can listen to your recording. If you don't like it, you can hit record again. If you do like it, you would hit save. And it's going to come to, now we're in the editing screen of WeVideo, and you can see that I have a layer on the bottom left that says voiceover, and I have content in there because that is my recording. It automatically went there. So at this point, that is as far as we're going to go. I'm going to let you all take some time to record your podcast, and then we'll come back and I'm going to show you the editing pieces, and that's where we're going to add in some sound effects. I'll show you how you can trim up your audio content if you want to, and all the other editing tools. I do just want to remind my iPad schools, if you're using the WeVideo app, you might want to go ahead and take a little watch of that video that I put together, because that will show you how it's a little bit different. Podcast WeVideo, the app has a little bit different interface with it, and that will show you how to get started, and it also has all of the editing pieces in there as well. But you iPad schools, you're also free to use GarageBand or iMovie if that's going to work out better for you. Okay, so hopefully you all had a chance to record something and get your podcast up and going in WeVideo. And I am going to go through some of the editing tools that you will have to trim your podcast and add some enhancements. I want to point out on my podcasting on the website that I gave you, if on the podcasting with WeVideo, there's also a link to the WeVideo Academy that has lots of tutorial videos on how to do just about everything that I'm going to show you right now. So if you need to go back and have a resource on how to do something, certainly you can ask me in the chat, but you can also access that resource. So the first thing that you might want to do is, let me give you a little tour here. So here is your preview area. If you had a video, you would see video in here. Since we don't have any images, it's really just, this is going to be black for most of the time. You have your voiceover, which is what was your recording that you did. You have an audio track over here, and that's where we're going to add sound, and the video track. And this is where you would add anything that had images on it. So you could add in an image as a thumbnail, which you often see in podcasting. So we'll show you how to do all of that. So if I needed to trim something out of my voiceover, I would use this little bar here, this little timeline bar, and I would take it to the part in the recording that I wanted to remove, and it could be from the beginning, it could be at the end, or it could be in the middle. Let's just say I had too much blank space in the middle, so I'm going to move my time bar where I want to make the trim. I'm going to click on the little scissors part, and now you notice that I have two separate pieces, and I can click on the piece that I want to trim out, and I can hit delete, and it's gone. The one thing that I then need to do, and notice how I got a blue line around it, that lets me know that this is the piece that I'm actually editing and working on, and then I need to slide that over. If it was in the middle, I would clip, move it over, clip again. Oops, didn't clip it a second time, clip again. And now you see I've got a middle piece I can go ahead and take that out and move this over, and you shouldn't really be able to detect anything. So that is editing your voiceover. The next thing that we're going to do is add some audio, because you noticed in both of the podcasts that we had, they had some audio background. So even the free version of WeVideo has quite a bit of audio tracks that you can use, and I really suggest that you use those. I'll show you the My Media in just a minute, but so you can go through and listen to these, and let's just say that I like happy walks, and so I'm going to take, I can listen to it, and I want to add that as audio background in some or all of my podcasts. And I'm going to take that and I'm going to drag it, and I'm going to put it in the audio track. And you can see it's pretty long. So, but notice it's highlighted blue. So just like I trimmed out the voiceover, I can also trim out the sound. And so I can go ahead and put that in the trash. The other thing you're going to notice about this, when you click on the audio, you've got this little speaker here. And often when you have audio on a podcast, it's really kind of like in the background. So if I click on the speaker, it then gives me this little speaker bar, and I can now control the volume of the audio. So maybe I want it loud in the beginning, and then maybe I can add little noise on here. And so often it might be loud in the beginning, but if I pull it down here, it's going to go all the way down to 0. That's kind of like fading out from the beginning, which you often hear. But the rest of the podcast, maybe I don't want it 0. But if you want it background, I would say anything under 10, so maybe like around 8. And then I can take this node, and can you see that the volume's changing, and I can see the percentage on here. And so now I'll show you how that sounds. Now it's flashing that it's recording, and you are getting it's timing you down. See how you can just lightly hear the music in the background. If I wanted to add an image, you don't have a lot of images in the free version. So I am going to show you right now this file up here called My Media, and that's where you can upload your own images, or you could upload some music. Pixabay is one of my favorite royalty-free music resources that you can get lots of audio recordings of music, instrumental, I guess is what I want to say. And so you could go ahead and download something from there and import it if you wanted to. So I'll just show you that importing is the same for whether it's an audio, video, or image. So I would go to import, I would browse to select, and wherever my files get downloaded to, I would be able to select that and upload it into, let's just upload it into My Media. And so now in My Media, it will show some different images, and you can see I've already pulled in some images right here. This one, see how it's got this little blue line going? That means that it's adding that in. And you could put this thumbnail, again, not really a big deal right now as far as audio, but sometimes when you're sharing it, you might want a little thumbnail. But you're really not, it's really not audio, and podcasting is really not about images. This would be like if you were putting it on a channel. Often you see podcasts have some sort of branding piece. So now I've got all of my audio that I want in here. And also you can clip out the audio too. Like say I wanted to add like a different piece of audio in the middle of this. Maybe I wanted to add a sound effect and I wanted to take the music out. I can also clip out the audio and leave it blank, and I could put a different piece of audio in there. But now that I've got this all trimmed up, I've enhanced it with everything that I want to add to it. We're going to then render this from editing format, which is what it is right here, into a finished MP4 format, video format. And so what I'm going to do is click finish, and I'm going to give it a name. And this is super, super important. First of all, you only need to export the audio, and that actually will make it much faster to export. But you really should click on the Google Drive icon. So the WeVideo icon is automatically clicked, and you can export this, toggle this on and off. You'll still be able to make some permissions in Google Drive, but this is important. What this is going to do is this will automatically save your audio into your Google Drive. WeVideo will make a folder in Google Drive. Remember when we signed in with our Google account. So we've synced our Google account to this. And so it will create a folder that says WeVideo, and the first time, and then after that, it won't need to, the folder will already be existing, and it will automatically put your audio content into Google Drive. And from there, so this will be an MP3 format, and from there you will be able to share it in a variety of different ways. And then, so once you've done both of those things, and you're going to go down here in the lower right, and you're going to click export. And you'll see that you get this little message, and you can go back to, once you're in the queue, that's kind of a cloud-based thing. You can go back to the editor and work on a different video or a different audio recording, whatever you wanted. You don't need to stay in here. So at this point in time, you've got about 10 minutes to go ahead and make some editing choices to your WeVideo, and make sure that you export it into your Google Drive. And we will wrap things up, and I'll talk about how you're going to be able to share your podcast projects with the MLTI group if you are interested in the scholarship piece. So I'm going to go ahead and mute myself, and Dr. Beal and I will be right here in the chat. Please let me know if you have any questions. All right, everybody. I just wanted to kind of show you where your podcast is going to live. You can see mine just came up here. So here's my WeVideo folder, and there is my podcast. Now, if you are going to, you can share this like you'd share any Google file, but if you wanted to share it outside the Google ecosystem, like today, if you'd like to share this as part of the scholarship opportunities, or you just want to share it so that we can share it with other people, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to download it. So I would click on this once, and then I click on these three little dots up here, and I would download it. And it will download it to wherever your downloads go in the file folder or whatever your system is. And from there, you can upload that file to something else. So there will be an opportunity for you to share this out. You can do that. And one last time, on my WeVideo website, podcasting with WeVideo. I did add in there, oh, let me refresh this because I think I added it in afterwards. I did add in a link to some WeVideo tutorials. So if you If I went too fast, which is highly probable, or you just need a reminder to go back in, feel free to go and access that website. So I hope from here, everybody was able to learn something about podcasting, how fun it can be. This is something that you could do for school, you can do with your friends. Really a lot of uses for podcasting.